Hello, this is Mrs. Scarpel again, and this video is going to cover the retrieval problems for Unit 3, Lesson 2. So much like the graphing problems in Lesson 1, we are going to need to graph an XY axis in order to complete what's happening here. So I'm going to graph my XY axis, I'm going to label the X-axis, I'm going to label the Y-axis, and then I'm going to go ahead and graph my equations. Both equations are in slope-intercept form, which makes it a little bit easier for us. We can identify the slope, we can identify the y-intercept. And remember, you start by plotting the y-intercept, and then you apply the slope. So for the first equation, that slope is -5, so down 5, right 1. Down 5, right 1. And graph a line. Second equation, we're going to have a slope of 2, a y-intercept of -3. So this time we start at -3 on the y-axis, and we go up to right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, or we could also go down to left 1 and graph our line. Now, unlike Lesson 1, the directions here are asking for the point of intersection, not for similarities and differences between the graphs. And you will notice that our lines intersect at this point. That point has an ordered pair of 1, -1. So that point of intersection is 1, -1. And be sure when you write an ordered pair, you include the parentheses around the x and the y values. Number 2, we're writing explicit and recursive equations for the table. I see that my inputs are increasing by 1, so it's a matter of checking to see what's happening to my outputs. And I see here that my outputs are decreasing by 3. So that makes this an arithmetic sequence. So the recursive equation, remember recursive always starts f of n equals f of n minus 1. We are subtracting 3 each time, and we begin at f of 1 equals 64. Now we can write the explicit equation, which as a reminder is also the point-slope form of the equation. So f of n equals, we are starting at 64, we're subtracting 3, and because it starts at 1, we multiply that with n minus 1. Now, that's point-slope form. If you want to write it in slope-intercept form, you're going to want to distribute the -3, which will give you 64 minus 3n, and then remember you're taking a -3 times a -1. That's going to become a +1. So to put this in slope-intercept form, 64 plus 1 is 65, subtract 3n. And again, that is the slope-intercept form of that equation. Just a reminder, as this was a skill that some of you demonstrated on the Unit 2 test, needs a little bit more practice. And let's take a look at number 3. Again, increasing in steps of 1, but this time it's not subtracting the same amount as these decrease. Instead, what we see is we are multiplying by 1/2. Half of 64 is 32. Half of 32 is 16. Half of 16 is 8. So we have a constant ratio of 1/2. That makes this a geometric sequence. Well, just like the arithmetic, the recursive is going to begin f of n equals f of n minus 1. But what we are doing is multiplying by 1/2, and f of 1 is going to equal 64. So now the explicit equation, f of n, equals, the starting value is 64, times, we are multiplying by 1/2 to the power of, so I'm going to use my parentheses a little bit differently here. I'm going to put the 1/2 in parentheses, and its exponent is going to be n minus 1, because our sequence starts at n is 1. And this will help you complete your Ready and Go portions of your assignment for Lesson 2.